Hello, welcome to the very first Between the Seasons episode of Why Does It Feel So Wrong to Be Human at Work? For those of you that are regular listeners, we usually have different episodes that tackle what it's like to be human at work. And we're doing something a little bit different here today. I'm your host, Chris.
Right on. And hello, everybody. I'm your host, Pinaki, and it's been a minute, so good to see you all again, but we're back. And before we just jump right into kind of what's next for Why Does It Feel So Wrong to Be Human at Work, we just wanted to take a moment to introduce someone new behind the scenes. So Bree has been here shaping where Human at Work is headed. And so to our guest today is our new producer for Human at Work and also the marketing manager at Local Wisdom, Bree Bartos.
Hi, thank you for
Woohoo!
having me.
Yeah. Welcome aboard, Bree.
Thank you. I'm happy
Welcome,
to be
welcome.
here.
Yeah, we wanted to kick off our Between the Seasons, these episodes by getting to know Bree here a little bit. So you're going to be hearing a lot more from her. She's going to be popping in time to time, whether that's behind the mic or just brainstorming new ideas or just quietly keeping Pinaki and me on track, which many people know we could use a lot of.
It's no easy feat.
I'll try my best.
Right. So yeah, but Bree, before we jump into your story, let me just tell everybody a little bit about what this behind the seasons episodes are about. And I'm really excited about it because we know that, our seasons come out and each episode there touches on a topic and there's a gap of time between seasons and we kind of don't know when the next season is going to drop. So what we wanted to do is we have so much ideas for content and so many people who are interested in speaking with us and being on the show that we concept this idea of between the seasons. So, Chris, tell me a little bit more about how we're setting this up. Is that like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea here, Pinaki, is that we're hosting short, 15-minute episodes that will help us bridge the gap a little bit between these full seasons of Human at Work. And you and I, we've talked a lot about a way to keep the conversation going as we prepare for the next season. Both you and I, at our core, we love to stay curious and talk about what's been going on in the world of work and experiment a little.
Exactly. It's kind of wild because every time I talk to people about, our episode, our podcast, immediately like ideas come to mind and it's hard to keep those topics at bay. So each week we'll alternate between two types of episodes. One will be a quick conversation about an industry topic, theme, workplace trend, news, etc. And the other will be a react episode where we will respond to real Reddit stories about work, sharing our takes, advice, and adding a little bit of empathy to that.
And I'm really excited about the Reddit episodes. I feel like so many people turn to Reddit to talk about things that they can't really bring up or don't feel comfortable to bring up at work with their boss or maybe their coworkers. There are so many people trying to figure out what's normal and what's not because you don't know what's not normal until someone points it out to you. And really, I feel like so many people go on there to figure out how to navigate being human at work. So I'm really excited about the advice and the insight you both and our guests might have to offer in the future. Plus, you guys will be reading these stories and reacting to them for the very first time. I picked them out. So you'll not never have seen them before. So I think it'll be very fun because some of these stories are a little crazy, but we'll mainly stick to some where you guys can offer some insightful advice and recommendations. But there are some fun ones out there.
Yeah, most
So
definitely.
exciting.
You know what, Bree? Let's just back this up for 1 second because we, at the beginning of this episode, we did talk about, we're interested in getting to know a little bit more about you. I have an interesting question for you because you're so good at storytelling. How did you get started in marketing and storytelling in the first place?
Yeah, I honestly it was kind of chance in that I didn't know where I wanted to go to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And someone in my class one day was like, "You'd be good at PR." And I went, "Okay." And I declared my major at WVU as strategic communications and public relations, which was in the journalism school. And as part of my electives, I was introduced to photojournalism and storytelling through that. And I love journalism. I have such a soft spot in my heart for it, especially documentary style journalism. I did a lot of that with photography and video in college, and I just fell in love with it. Everyone has a story to tell. And I think that's very important to remember in marketing because that prevents you from becoming too salesy. I think it's important to tell a story more so than tell someone why they need your product or service. Tell them the value, tell them the benefit, connect with them, find how they can relate to whatever it is you are trying to market and tie it into their story. And I think another thing I love about storytelling is just all of the different outlets that you can tell a story in. There's photography, videography, illustration, animation, and I love figuring out the best outlet to tell a story because sometimes it's written, sometimes it's video, sometimes it's photos, and you really don't know until you dig into the story.
It's super exciting. And you've been doing like a fantastic job so far in some of the work at like Local Wisdom and some of the events that you've been there as a videographer and photographer. So kudos to you. So super excited about this. One of the things about our, Human at Work podcast that I think is so awesome is that it's like predominantly unscripted. Like Chris and I, since earlier on recording this, we decided that we just don't want to know what each other is saying, so we could have full, genuine understanding of what's going on here. So with that in mind, I'm like really excited about what you're just going to be putting in front of us. So without telling us too much, what can listeners and maybe Chris and I look forward to in the next few weeks?
Yeah, of course. We've got some really fun stuff planned, thoughtful short episodes, a few experiments with the format, and more voices from both industry friends and the local wisdom team. Like we mentioned, we will start having episodes of us reacting to Reddit stories. And that will actually be our next episode that the three of us will be in again, reacting to some Reddit stories that I picked out for you guys. And we'll be talking a little bit about something that is very much in the news right now, which is the mass layoffs that are occurring. And, just so that people know where I'm coming from, I was laid off in April. Prior to joining the team at Local Wisdom, I was laid off. I was one of three people at my company that were laid off, unfortunately. One of the other ones was my husband. So, so that was quite the journey. But I say it all the time that everything happens for a reason because I'm very much enjoying the work that we're doing here at Local Wisdom. I'm now here getting to help you guys produce this show and tell more stories about being human at work and what that looks like and how we can be better at supporting each other being human at work. So lots of exciting stuff happening that I'm looking forward to. And who knows, maybe some surprises for you guys every now and then, or that's how I'll frame them.
I love it. Bria, and you know what? I always feel for people when you have to go through that experience of being laid off. I know it's never easy. It's hard to not take it personally. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking a little bit more about that. Bria, I'm always interested in hearing about your own experience and how it impacted you emotionally and spiritually because it's never easy. And a lot of the times it's not even really within your control. But what was your experience like? Because I imagine it's the first time that's happened to you.
Yeah, it was. It was honestly, it was just very shocking. I felt like the rug had been just completely torn out from underneath my feet. It was not expected. And it especially wasn't expected for both my husband and I to get laid off at the same time. That added a whole other layer of just panic. We bought our house 2 years ago. We had four animals together. Like our entire income was gone in a matter of minutes. And so it was really just so much anxiety and fear. I didn't want to lose our house. I love our house. So we bought our house so that my dog could have a big backyard. I was really scared about losing that. But something that really surprised me was how much I had tied my identity to my career. Ever since I was in college, like ever since I was in high school, even like the goal was as soon as I got out of college to get a job. And I succeeded in that. I pushed myself and burned myself out in college to the point where I got a job before I graduated. And it was the one thing that I was like always very proud of that I worked really hard for and put all this time and energy into my job. And I always have been someone who wants to continue to grow and, take on new roles at their job. And I'm someone who's loyal. Like I don't want to change things up. I want to find a company and I kind of want to stick there for as long as I can because I don't like change. And so I planned on, continuing being at my company for however long that might look. And so I was shocked. I had gotten promoted a year prior. I wasn't the last one in the department who was hired, which is the excuse they used when laying off my husband. And so I felt like I just didn't have a reason and I was lost. Like there was no closure to it. It was just like, okay, bye, we're kicking you out. So there was no closure, and then there was just no like, who am I if I don't have a job? If I'm not this brand marketing lead anymore, who am I? And I was like, I had tied so much of myself to my career, and I didn't know that until it was gone. And I was just kind of left with myself in my house, and I was just like, well, now what do I do? And like I said, it turned out to be a really, really good thing that happened because I was extremely burnt out. I was stretched thin. I was exhausted. My workplace wasn't great. And I took the time after and before joining Local Wisdom to just recover and just rest because I was like, well, when else am I going to get the time? I have
Yeah,
all the time in the world.
right
It's
on.
time to start using that gym membership. I started going and swimming in the pool. I started going on walks with the dogs because when else was I going to have the time to do all the things I said I was going to do when I had time? And so I tried to take advantage of that, take advantage of all the things I could do with my newfound time. And eventually I feel as though that helped me to reconnect with my own identity of being Bree rather than Bree, the brand marketing lead, because my life was no longer just about, getting
Mhm.
that next social post up or securing that next influencer program or whatever it may be. So, for anyone who is currently going through the process of getting laid off and might be feeling the same thing, it's very hard to hear in the moment. And I would get frustrated when people would tell
Mhm.
me in the moment, but try and just do some things for yourself. One thing a day, even if it's just like to buy yourself a chocolate bar that day. Treat yourself, to take time to recognize the fact that this sucks and
Mm.
this is hard and it's not fair that you're having to go through it, but it will be okay eventually. And try not to burn yourself out applying to jobs too much because I started doing that too.
No, I appreciate your
Wow.
vulnerability and sharing what is definitely a sensitive experience for a lot of people, Bree.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people listening will really appreciate what you shared with them because I think a lot of people go through the same types of emotions. So we're just so glad you're here, Bree, that you're part of
Me
this. You're
too.
helping to produce this, both behind the scenes and now officially here on mic. So welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
ab-
I'm so excited.
Absolutely. Like, wow. Like, yeah, even to kind of kick this off like this is something special. And I think you hit something really dear. Perhaps we shouldn't define ourselves by our job or our roles, but define ourselves based on what we're bringing to those jobs and roles.
Mhm.
So we could control that. Everything else we can't. So,
Yeah.
wow, what an amazing, perfect way to start between the seasons. I'm super excited.
Thank you. I'm very excited for what's ahead and for all of us to just keep exploring what it really means to be human at work.
Yeah, 100%. So everyone just stay tuned for next week's episode. The three of us are going to be sharing our reaction to this incoming Reddit story and looking forward to that, especially when it's unscripted. So especially with Pinaki and me, you just never know what you're going to get. So we'll buckle up.
Thank you for listening, everybody, and welcome to Between the Seasons.